All right. Lucian, welcome back. Trial two, take two, internet stable. We are working. Welcome to the channel, Lucian.
Thanks, Adam.
Lucian, how many years you been in roofing sales?
4 months.
4 months. You wrote me an email that I woke up to that put the biggest smile on my face, and I wish you could have seen it. I'm going to share my screen and share that with folks. But I'd love for you to share how this whole thing started. You know what? I'm going to wait before I share that. Why are we talking today, Lucian? Share the story. 4 months in. Let's start from the top.
Yeah, started, I don't know, about around the beginning of April. Last 10 years before that, I'd been inside sales at a millwork distributor. Just kind of getting burnt out of sitting behind a desk, and COVID happened, and I was just ready to make a change. So went out there, Googled sales jobs, ended up at a really good company. Did some training, Googled how to sell roofs and videos, and stumbled across your page. And I don't know, 8 hours later that day, sitting watching all the videos you've got up there and training, kind of started me off. And as I was doing it, I said, well, our townhomes that I live in, they got hit with pretty good hail within a year before I started this, and they had never called in a claim. So I started the whole process of finding out who's all on the board, finding out the property manager, sending emails back and forth, and eventually, I was able to get in front of all the people on the board, hosted a little barbecue, got them to buy into our company as opposed to another company who's like 2 blocks away from the townhomes here. Long story short, we ended up securing the job. It's a little over 600 square, a little over $500,000 job, and my commission at the end will be a bit over $120,000. So,
Unreal.
What I would have made in 2.5 years at my old job, I made in a week's total worth of work here.
What I would have made in 2.5 years, you made in a week. This is the email. I'm sharing my screen now. I'm going to read this if it's okay. I woke up to this, a screenshot from my phone. It says, "Hey, Adam, hope all's well with you. Just wanted to let you know I was able to secure the townhome job," because you and I, Lucian, have been emailing back and forth about kind of approaching this and getting in front of these folks. So 32 units, over 600 square. Commission will be a bit over 120K. Can't thank you enough for all your support, sales training, and tactics. If I hadn't stumbled across your YouTube channel when I first started, I wouldn't be where I am at now. I've now revised my goal to 225,000 in commission for my first year. I'm sitting at about 185 right now, and we haven't even had a single storm. Not too bad for a little bit over 4 months in the business. I just want to say congratulations, and I am so happy for you. Congrats, man. That's
Thanks.
awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's kind of weird. So went in and opened my business checking account today, and I had to ask a question I never thought I'd ask. I said, "Is there anything different I have to do if I deposit a check over $100,000?" It's not a question you think you're ever going to ask generally in your life.
Yeah, that's wild, man. That is really, really wild. The 2.5 years to a week. And it's funny, we all say, in a week, of course, it's going to take some time to produce, and these commercial deals are a big hog, but I know everybody listening is curious. Everyone wants to know how to land these whales. You want to walk us through kind of what you did and what you and I kind of had talked about and what you ran with? Because I'm just on this side responding to some emails. You're the one doing the work and deserves the credit, the praise, and has the story to tell. So let's start with step one. What was the first thing you did to get this conversation going for the townhouse deal?
Well, I started by emailing the property manager here. And at first she wasn't really interested. She said, "Oh, we think the roofs are fine."
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "Well, I'm not just a salesperson. I also live here, but why don't I go ahead and use my drone so I didn't have to get up on the roof or anything." So I put together some photos, some video evidence, and I went to the members of the board who live here. I didn't know where each of them lives, so I used another app that you've talked about, Onyx Hunt, to find out which unit each of them were in. Kind of talked to them, went over it, and they brought it back up to the property manager. And eventually me and one of the co-owners of the company, Dustin, who hired me, we put together a little barbecue. We've got all the HOA members, HOA board members here. Kind of went over everything that we do as a company, how, we're not just here for a dollar line amount. We're here to make sure the scope is correct, make sure everything is done correctly. As looking at the roofs, there was damage beyond just hail. There was a lot of decking issues that would get fixed during this process too. One of them happened to be directly over the president of the board's house, big giant dip in the decking. So, in Minnesota, you get a couple inches of snow up there. Probably next winter that was falling through. So he was really eager to get it done. And so eventually the board approved us. So we had to go through, you have to go through some different things when you become a vendor for a property management company. You got to give them all your insurance information, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Once we got all that squared away, adjuster was out here. We actually only got on one of the 6 buildings. He saw enough damage on the one building to approve it, which was great. He was one of those adjusters you dream about meeting up on the roof.
Yeah, especially on a large loss. What carrier was it? Can you share what insurance company it was?
American Family.
Wow, that is rare. Usually those large loss adjusters need to take pictures of dang near everything because they've got an audit trail. So clearly enough on one. That's great news, man. Can you talk to us a little bit about the vote on the board? It's, correct me if I'm wrong, it's politics, isn't it? I mean, you got to figure out, you need a popular vote. You got your board there. You got to figure out who already likes you, who doesn't like you as much, who's got questions, who's your swing vote, and you literally just need a majority vote. So share with us share with me how you approach that whole, sitting there hosting the barbecue to get drilled with questions and present to them.
Yeah, I think having the opportunity to be able to actually host a barbecue, something a little more informal, not just 100% business right in your face, but actually sit and get to know each other and talk and have questions come up casually really worked for us well. By the end of it, every single member of the board was good to go with us. And the other companies that have been out and looked at it had kind of said to them that there wasn't that much damage and they didn't think it was worth pursuing. So us being able to provide drone videos, drone footage, getting up there, showing them the actual damage, showing them the additional issues that, while not storm related, would get fixed, really helped bring it along. The biggest thing is, just, pinpointing the 2 biggest people you need to convince are the board president and the board treasurer.
Yeah. I want to repeat that.
The president and the treasurer is the same on this one. So, but where they go, it seems that's where everyone else is going to go because they're kind of the leader. So
awesome. I want to recap for everyone tuning in the key points. You offered a barbecue, informal time. Always do it over food. It's so much easier, even if it's bringing breakfast or donuts and coffee to a meeting. Number 2, you figured out who you need to win over. President is numero uno. That is your number 1 focal point, and then you need the other votes. I love it. The other thing that I love that you had done is explained that there were other reasons to do the roof. This is a big deal for commercial or multifamily. You didn't say just hail damage. You found the other compelling reasons to take action on this because the problem is greater than just the hail damage. We have all these other things that you can fix at once. This is needed. Otherwise, people don't want to do the roof because my roof's fine. It doesn't leak. So I just wanted to highlight that for everybody. How did you bring up the barbecue? Like, walk us through. Did you just knock on someone's door and say, I want to host a barbecue, or how did you do it? So we're going to cut that. So anyway, we're tuning back in because my wife was sitting in bed waiting for a Zoom call with her friends and jumped into my Zoom room. So backing up, Lucian, how did you start the dialogue to invite them to this barbecue?
Yeah, I kind of hit it 3 different ways. I went and talked to each of them in person. Let them know, hey, I want to do a barbecue on Friday. We'll have a little more information. We can sit down. I'll grab some good food, have a couple of, adult beverages possibly, or some Sprites, whatever you prefer. Just kind of informal process, sit down and talk. And then I also sent out an email. And then I have 7-year-old twins, took them with me, and we posted little notes on the doors too, re-inviting them to make sure, so we hit them 3 different times and ended up getting everyone to show up.
That's awesome. Way cool. So you do the barbecue. How did you open it so they didn't feel like they were being sold to? Like, what was like the framing or the purpose of the barbecue?
Well, we probably didn't even talk business for the first half an hour. We just
Awesome.
talked about the day, about the week, the weather, just chit chat. It kind of helped that I probably have a leg up in this one, whereas, I live here. So we were able to talk about other stuff, and my wife was there to help kind of guide it. And then once the co-owner Dustin, he got here, we kind of got into talking. We just opened it up to them for any questions. We kind of went over who we were as a business, what we do, what hail damage is and what it can lead to, and then kind of opened it up to them, let them ask any questions they had, answered anything we could answer, let them know about the other issues that were on the roof that would get fixed at the same time. And yeah, it was pretty informal. We probably talked business for an hour, and then half an hour before just chit chatted, and then chit chatted for an hour and a half later, just hanging out, which was, I think, really helped. It kind of really helped secure that personal relationship with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. I love that you approached it casually. You didn't talk work, by the way. I mean, you probably have seen this. That's like the number one thing I teach in sales appointments. First thing, connect, don't talk work. And I love that it dragged on. You just built a connection, and that you opened yourself up to questions, just like, I'm here to help, drill me. And I often tell folks, make yourself the human punching bag. Say, I'm here to be the punching bag of all questions. The treasurer is going to have a question. The president's going to have a question. The CFO is going to have a question. You guys just dump it on me. I'm here to help. So awesome work. Next question. Did you have the contingency agreement signed before you met with the adjuster or after?
We got it signed before. It's kind of, actually, we got it signed like the morning of, but they'd already made like a verbal commitment and a commitment through email. But then we got the contingency agreement signed before we met the adjuster. I just told them, just need this signed. If you want to look it over, they looked it over for a day, read it through every line, made sure, they were comfortable with it, and yeah, got it signed, and then met with the adjuster.
Just amazing. Just amazing. And you mentioned that, moving from this project is obviously huge. This is life-changing, literally life-changing money. 2.5 years worth of income. Like, how does one's mind get even wrapped around that? But before this deal, you were starting to get some pretty serious traction in the business. So let's start at the very beginning. Did you succeed right away out of the gate, or did you have some struggle to get moving?
I've always been pretty good selling and talking to people. Probably my biggest struggle at the beginning was actually identifying what hail damage was. And it still seems, I mean, I know what hail damage is, but it seems like my definition and every other adjuster that you meet's definition is totally different.
Yeah, that won't change, by the way. That's the way it goes.
I do have a funny story. So literally the first roof I got on, there was marking, I thought it was hail damage. So get it signed, customer signed, ready to go. Our owner, he gave us $1,000 bonus when we got our first one signed. He said, if you can get someone signed, I know you can do this. That's the biggest thing, getting on the roof and getting them signed. So I was like, sweet. It's $1,000. It took me 4 days to get to that first part, and that was great. Fast forward 3.5 weeks later, when the adjuster comes out, now I've been doing this a little bit longer. We get up on the roof, and I'm looking at it, and I look at the adjuster, and I say, I didn't know what I was doing when I did this, but there's no damage on this roof. But it was kind of nice because the adjuster liked that I was honest with him up front, and he kind of sat there for 45 minutes going over what he would be looking for as an adjuster.
So he trained you up.
So yeah, I've learned something on every adjustment I've been on. I ask questions. I be nice, cordial, stay out of the way. But every time I've been on an adjustment with an adjuster, I've learned something new.
Yeah, that's great. I love that you shared the embarrassing story. Everybody has one. And when I did this meet and greet down in Houston, one of the reps there, he says, my embarrassing story, because I told mine. And he says, I think it was his first day in the field, he was doing an attic inspection, and he slipped and he came through the ceiling in the kitchen.
Oof.
Luckily, he was okay. The guy that was training with him caught him, but they put a hole clean in the kitchen, and he said that the son was in there of the household was in there like cooking himself a meal or preparing a meal, and all of a sudden looks up scared and sees this dude's leg dangling down. So I love it, man. Everyone's got their embarrassing story, and I'll save mine for another day because today's about you. But so 4 days took you 4 days to make your first deal. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Wildly
then,
fast, by the way. Awesome.
Yeah, from there, we're just kind of working old storm damage out here because in Minnesota we haven't really had any real storms in the metro area. There's been some outlier storms, but they're all not very populated. So we're working in the city, and this is when I started implementing some of the things you had, your leave behind letters, sending letters in the mail. And I got onto a block there, and these are all pretty big houses, 25 to 35 square roofs, steep 9 to 10 pitch roofs, and complicated. Well, I got onto a block where I signed up one guy, got my sign in his yard. 2 days later, I get a call from another guy. Hey, I got your letter in the mail, and I saw your sign over my neighbor's yard. Can you come take a look at my door or at my roof? Looked at his guy. Next day, I got a call from the person next door to him, then a call from the person next door to them, and then a call from the person next door to them, all from your multi-touch stuff, knocking on the door, leaving a letter, sending a letter in the mail, all of that. And then a couple blocks away, I had, run into the old no soliciting sign. And I had made the mistake once of knocking on a no soliciting door in that neighborhood and just got chewed out. So I was like, all right, well, I have this awesome leave behind letter I can leave. So I'm not knocking on the door, bothering him. Leave the letter, get a call the next day. Hey, I really appreciate that you didn't knock on my door. Could you come take a look at my roof for me?
You never shared that one with me. That's man, thanks for Lucian. That's great. And it's, even today I was on Instagram and I see someone bragging on their story, and it was a picture of a no soliciting sign with the ladder set up. And there's this badge of honor for people that are like, they had no soliciting, but I still got the sale. And there's this mindset of like grind or die. And I know that it works sometimes, but it's just disrespectful. For the times like when you got chewed out, you were like, I respect people. Oops, mistake. Let's not do that. It is people's homes after all. So I love that you were respectful. You got a call. It was an easy hot lead, and the guy already liked you out of the gate. Kudos.
Yeah,
Nice.
It was really nice. His sign, it was one of the, it was a funny no soliciting. It said, don't knock, don't make it awkward.
That's good.
But this guy, come to find out, he had tried the year before to do a claim, but State Farm, who has been kind of difficult lately, just flat out denied him. So I told him, well, that's something we kind of specialize in, is showing all the damage that's there and getting your claims approved if we feel they're valid. So we went through the process. State Farm came out. The guy went up there, said there was no damage. We said, well, we don't agree with that. We asked for a reinspection. There was actually a shingle that had been blown off and a roof vent. And these are on discontinued shingles, so you can't replace just one part of them. You got to replace them all. So this guy is like head over heels happy now that he's getting a new roof after having, tried fighting it for a year through a different company who had not gotten him where he wanted to be.
Wow. It's amazing how some of these things work out. And then the funniest part is when you help someone who really needs help, they love you. So I got to ask you now that you're getting this momentum and having success, what's more rewarding? And be honest, is it the money or is it help? Is it the pat on the back? I'm just curious what your perspective is.
I like them both. I'm in it for both.
Yeah.
I love being out and talking to people. I love getting a roof replaced for someone that needs their roof replaced. especially, we pay tens of thousands of dollars in home insurance throughout our lifetime. So
Yeah.
when it
Use it.
needs to be used and it's a legitimate reason to use it, it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, the money isn't bad either.
I know, it's wild. I'm glad you answered both, by the way. I mean, anyone, so many people like it's all about the money, and it's like it's not. The money is definitely there, but at some point, especially once once you have cash in the bank, the motivation changes. It does. I mean, I was sharing this when I was on Dimitri's channel, Roofing Insights. You reach a point that you need a greater challenge and a greater why. But believe me, at first, I know what it's like to be broke, and then and struggling. And I can't imagine, if you just did so 120, 2.5 years. So at your old incomes, supporting 2 children. I mean, I can't imagine there was a whole lot of cash left over for lifestyle to things. Were there?
I mean, we weren't like broke, but it was, like most Americans, paycheck to paycheck,
Yeah.
maybe enough in the bank to cover a few months if something happened. But
Yeah.
I grew up extremely, extremely poor. Like my parents, neither of them finished high school. They didn't own their own home or anything. So I kind of learned how to save and pinch and scrimp and do everything I could. So,
Yeah.
we weren't living badly. My wife, funny enough, is a massage therapist.
I know what that's like.
So, we had the dual incomes. But yeah, I mean, at this point, I've told her she can cut back to part time, or if she doesn't want to work at all, she doesn't have to, which is nice for her to have that option. And we'll be able to actually go on a family vacation, which we've only done once, and that was for my daughter's Make-A-Wish trip when she was younger. So, yeah. So now we actually get to go on a real family vacation, which will be awesome.
My Lucian, my heart goes out to you, and to be able to provide that for your family, like that's what it's about. You can make all the money in the world, but it's about it's about using it in a way that's meaningful and providing the opportunity, and you deserve it. And I'm speechless, man. I just want to say,
I'm looking. My dad, he was a painter, so he grew up, interior exterior painting, up and down roofs all the time.
Mhm.
Well, a little over 3 years ago, he fell off a roof and completely shattered his elbow to the point where it took 10 surgeries for them to repair it. So he lives with us now, and he's kind of forced retired, which he doesn't like, but it's kind of nice. We got a built-in babysitter, and the kids like having grandpa around.
Right.
But it's kind of nice because I'm going to be able to buy him a new vehicle, which he's never had a brand new vehicle. So we're going to surprise him with getting him a new vehicle because he drives around a 1999 Ford Escape that's more rust than car.
Wow. I'm going to make sure that this doesn't publish till after the gift has been given, so there's no chance of a spoiler. Unreal. Hearing what you're doing in your why to do this, to provide for family and to take care of your dad and just to do right by people and enjoy life. And clearly you're taking care of customers the right way should be an inspiration for everybody. I know it's an inspiration for me, that level of generosity, man, just kudos. And not that you're doing it for this reason, but it comes back around. It really does.
Yeah, there was a lot of times, being younger, growing up, that others' generosity helped us. So it's kind of one of those want to give back, put back out good into the world.
Yeah, just amazing, Lucian. So if you were to look back at yourself getting started and you could be your own coach, what would you tell yourself to help yourself succeed even faster and do even more from the very beginning?
Get Adam's battle pack right away, not a couple months into it.
Thank you. I didn't ask with the knowing this answer for whatever it's worth, but thank you for saying that. I'm very honored to support you.
I mean, that really did change a lot, seeing the different, before it was just knock on the door, no one's there. Okay, well, I guess keep going. Now it's knock on the door. Oh, no one's there. Leave a letter, send a letter in the mail, follow up next time I'm in the neighborhood. So that's really helped change a lot, and learning the different ways to overcome the objections throughout your sales processes. And it's there's always room for other people's advice when you're doing it. So I really take in as much advice as you can and put to use whatever you're comfortable with using.
Yeah, I love it. What's fantastic advice. You use what works. Don't reinvent the wheel. And the key thing is be efficient with the time. You mentioned knocking the door, leaving a letter, sending a letter in the mail. I wish I'd learned all that sooner. The amount of gas money, time, days feeling like nothing was accomplished. Before we wrap it up, is there any advice that you'd leave with anyone who is watching today or listening that you feel could inspire them? I mean, I don't care if you've been in the business for 2 weeks or 2 years or 2 decades. We all have things to learn from each other. You've covered a lot of ground in a very short period, and that perspective we often lose. So I'd love to hear from it. What advice would you leave someone in your shoes if you were having new guys join your company? What would you tell them?
Be persistent, be friendly, and just be personable. If you're those 3 things, you're going to succeed. There's always going to be hail damage, storm damage, retail roofs that need to be sold. Everyone has a roof over their head, and that's what protects their home. So as long as you're personable and persistent, you're going to succeed. Sometimes it may take a little longer. Sometimes it may come sooner. It really depends on where you're at in the sales cycle at the moment. But I think anyone who can talk to people can do this.
I love that. And I told you that was gonna be the last question, but what you just said inspired just one more. You said to be persistent because it is a matter of time till you experience success. And I find that a lot of reps, the biggest mistake is quitting too soon and not giving it enough time. I've used the analogy that it's like trying to push like a concrete ball up a mountain. And all you got to do is get past the peak. It's this hardest part getting started. Once you do, the momentum carries, like you mentioned, calls from neighbors, calls from letters, and it just all of a sudden it blows up. But it is so hard when you're in the thick of it, pushing it uphill. Sorry, I got a wonky finger. It doesn't go straight. Pushing uphill. How do you keep yourself motivated through the times, in the tough times, either personal or days where you don't get traction? Like, what's the fuel that Lucian taps into to keep that level of persistence high?
Mine's probably a two-part answer. The first part that keeps me going is my family. I'm doing this to provide for them, make a better life for them, so my kids will have a better life than I have, and so on and so forth. And the second thing, I just got my first actual commission check, because the way we pay out is at the end of projects once they're done. So, I had to keep looking. This sold back in April. It's now July. So it took a while, but I knew it was coming. But now they're all starting to come in a pile.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, don't get down on yourself in the beginning when the money's not coming in right away. Most companies will let you take a draw. I had luckily built up enough to where I didn't need to go into that. But when it starts to hit, it's life changing. I mean, even a small job commission is, if you hit profit commission, it's nice.
Yeah, it changes things. I always say roofing sales is like a drug. Your first hit is free, and then you're hooked. And that hit is the commission check hitting your account and being like, I got to be out in the field with people, solving problems, not in an office.
Yeah,
And that's what happened. Where do I get more?
exactly.
So
Yeah,
awesome.
I watched. I never really paid much attention to the weather, other than, is it going to be snowing or is it going to be cold in the middle of winter? Now every night I'm like, all right, did we get hail? Oh, that's on a lake 200 miles north where there's only 5 inches. Okay, I guess we're not going there. But you become kind of the weatherman's follower now. I follow quite a few weather people now.
It changes things, doesn't it? Changes your perspective on everything.
Yeah.
All right. I've lied twice. It's truly what we're going to close on. What was your biggest breakthrough in roofing sales?
Uh, just getting that first sale. Once you get that first sale, that first contingency signed, then I went, all right, yeah, I can do this. This isn't that hard, I can talk to people. I can do this. Yeah, let's do this. I don't need to go back to the old job and ask for my job back. I'm
Yeah,
good.
that's awesome. Competence breeds confidence. Thanks for sharing that, Lucian. Lucian, thank you again for being here. And you've inspired me. I'm sure you've inspired others. So I appreciate your time. And I'm really looking forward to hearing about the rest of this year and what's to come.
All right, thanks, Adam.